In the top stories, Prime Minister Harris announces new COVID-19 protocols for the fully vaccinated. Brazilian Senate opens inquiry into Bolsonaro's COVID handling, and the CDC says vaccinated Americans can now remove masks outdoors. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Wednesday, the 28th of April, 2021. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris has announced that the federal cabinet has approved new protocols for persons who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19. He was speaking during Tuesday's edition of Leadership Matters. The Prime Minister said for fully vaccinated inbound air travelers to St. Kitts and Nevis, the quarantined period will be reduced.
It has approved that we shall reduce the quarantine period currently now in place. Our medical experts have recommended that we reduce the quarantine period for the fully vaccinated inbound air travelers to St. Kitts and Nevis from 14 days to 9 days effective the 1st of May.
It was announced on Tuesday by Minister of Sport, the Honorable John L. Powell, that once they're fully vaccinated, patrons will be allowed to attend all sporting events at 50% capacity at the venue. The Prime Minister said that fully vaccinated persons attending cultural events are also being considered.
Fully vaccinated cultural and entertainment events can be favorably considered, whereby only fully vaccinated patrons are allowed entrance. This has a recommended start date of July 19, 2021.
Prime Minister Harris added that mixed events with both vaccinated and non-vaccinated persons must continue to follow the COVID-19 protocols. These events include weddings, funerals, and church services. The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine Resources is gearing up to host a career expo dubbed Land or Sea, a Career for Me. According to a press release, the purpose of this career expo is to expose secondary school leavers to a variety of career paths that exist in and around the agricultural sector. Assistant Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine Resources, Kyle Flanders, shared some of the career paths students will be exposed to at the expo.
In almost any arena. We're talking about working in a lab, we're talking about working even in the field. Don't get it twisted. The farmer still has a significant role to play in the economy. Fishermen, same thing. But if you don't want to do that per se, you still have other choices out there in your career field. You can go and work in a lab, you can go and work, let's say, as part of the maritime affairs, you can work even law. If you want to study the ocean law, that's a career for you also. So it's not just about going out in the hot sun in the field, digging and, it's not about that. Even so, if you want to be in crop production, we have new technologies out there to display, hydroponics, aquaponics, those kind of new ways of farming. They exist out there and we want to show you that they do exist.
The expo will be held on the ground on Thursday, April 29, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the grounds of the Department of Agriculture, La Grite, and the expo will include live demonstrations and presentations by personnel of the Ministry of Agriculture and private stakeholders. Local educational institutions will be on hand to market their programs. Fifth form students, accompanied by their teachers from each high school in St. Kitts and Nevis, are expected to participate in the expo. In keeping with the COVID-19 protocols, a schedule of visits has been put in place to control attendees. Therefore, the visitations will be staggered and no one school will be out for the entire duration of the expo. Officials from the St. Kitts Meteorological Office will be featured on the government radio and TV program Working for You later today. The special guest will be Elmo Burke, Senior Meteorological Officer at the St. Christopher Air and Seaport Authority, or SCASPA, and Ray John, former Meteorological Officer. The discussion will focus on the progress made by the Met Office as it celebrates 50 years under the theme Service with Accuracy and Reliability, St. Kitts Meteorological at 50. The role and function of the Met Office will be explained. Additionally, the forecast for the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season will be debated. Working for You is broadcast live every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. on ZIZ Radio and other participating radio stations. The program is also streamed live on the SKNIS Facebook and YouTube pages. We now move to news on the regional scene. Brazil's Senate has opened an inquiry into President Jair Bolsonaro's government handling of the pandemic as the country reports nearly 400,000 deaths from coronavirus this week. Bolsonaro has repeatedly downplayed COVID-19's seriousness, rallied against lockdowns, and presided over an inept vaccination campaign. Brazil has the world's second highest death toll from the virus after the United States. The probe could hurt the president's chances of being re-elected in next year's polls. Al Jazeera's Monica Yanikev reports.
Last year, the government rejected several offers to buy the CoronaVac and Pfizer vaccines from China and the United States, delaying the mass inoculation campaign.
This is the first time Bolsonaro's criminal actions are being investigated. The government not only denied the pandemic, but also confronted governors and mayors who imposed restrictions to protect the population. The Supreme Court barred the president from overturning curfews and lockdowns, but now Congress will hold him accountable for his actions.
Bolsonaro's allies failed to stop lawmakers from launching the probe. Now a Senate committee will be looking into at least 20 accusations, among them the government's failure to have a national plan.
Senators say that the priority is to investigate why Brazil took so long to procure vaccines, despite being Latin America's largest economy and having the technological means to produce them domestically. But government officials will also be asked about the delay in resuming emergency aid to the country's growing poor.
19 million people have gone hungry during the past year, almost twice as much as in 2018. And half of the population is facing food insecurity, not knowing when they'll have their next meal. Many, like this couple, have moved to the street after the government suspended the emergency aid in January. Handouts started being distributed again this month, but they still have not received them, nor have their new neighbors.
This is Mr. Gaúcho. He had a shop and lost everything during the pandemic. Like him, there are dozens sharing a sidewalk.
The pandemic and the economic crisis it brought about are far from over. With less than 7% of Brazilians fully vaccinated, it will be a long time before life goes back to normal. Meanwhile, lawmakers are hoping the investigation will determine what went wrong and who was to blame. Monica Yanikev, Al Jazeera, Rio de Janeiro.
In Jamaica, more women die in a conflict between men and women than in domestic or intimate partner violence. A high number of women also die in conflict with other women, yet much of the outcry in recent times has been around incidents of males attacking and killing females. More in this report.
And that's how 1/3 of all women die. That's not funny. It's normally, the ones that we call when people good pitney. Right, and that is part of the emotions around violence against women. 13% are women who are accused of being informers. 8% are women who are war strategists. 11% is gang family wipeout, like the scammers them and gangs, that wipe out the whole family, or attack the whole family. 11% matey war.
Dr. Gale says society runs the risk of being sexist if all the attention and resources shift to one gender over time.
Each time I look at the policies in Jamaica and the rest of the third world, it reminds me of that. We panic because of all that's happening, and what do? We clip the bird on one wing. We bring in these tons and tons of investment for women.
Yes.
Women, and we realize that the other side called men, is actually being neglected.
The expert insists balance is needed.
You don't want to let out your nice little plump poodle among people who are deprived, or dogs who are deprived. That's the point I was making. And therefore, the lack of balance in policies and in the attention, where we pay attention, is very dangerous. And that is why I've always advocated for partnership. Advocate all the time for partnership, for men, for especially black men and black women, because the easiest way to weaken a group, is to fatten one at the expense of the other.
Nika Lewis, CVM Live.
Internationally, the U.S. is easing its mask restrictions for fully vaccinated Americans, President Joe Biden said on Tuesday. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control, or the CDC, has updated its guidelines, saying those who have received 2 jabs of the Pfizer-BioNTech or Moderna vaccines can now meet and dine with others outdoors. But the CDC still advises mask wearing indoors or in crowded situations. Al Jazeera's John Hendren has more.
Does not extend to indoor events or crowded outdoor events such as concerts.
Even when you're beautiful afternoon.
In a sign of pandemic progress, the United States is lowering mask restrictions.
Starting today, if you're fully vaccinated and you're outdoors, you need, and not in a big crowd, you no longer need to wear a mask.
The new guidance from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control says that even unvaccinated Americans may now go without masks outdoors or while dining outside with friends. But that does not extend to indoor events or crowded outdoor events such as concerts.
Even when you're talking about variants, indoors, outdoors, get vaccinated and you will certainly have a degree of protection.
But there are also troubling signs of COVID complacency. Super sites in Ohio, Texas, and Florida are closing. Louisiana is asking for fewer vaccine shipments. Counties in Iowa and Kansas are rejecting them. And across the U.S., a growing number of Americans have missed their second vaccinations. Call it vaccine hesitancy. New data from the CDC as of April finds that 8% of Americans have not taken their second vaccine from Pfizer or Moderna. That's up from 3.4% earlier this year.
For me, it would be a no thank you.
The CDC now recommends that college students be able to get their second dose even if it's at home in another state. One dose is partially effective.
After just 1 dose, we know that you have reasonably good protection, 80% according to the real world data. What we don't know, however, is the duration of that protection.
That's why the second dose is crucial.
We know after that second dose that those antibodies last for at least 6 months, possibly longer.
The White House is urging Americans who are not getting the one-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine to take that double dose.
The second dose is critical to getting the maximum level of protection.
Not to mention, that second dose is critical in bringing the United States to herd immunity, and that would stop the spread of the virus. John Hendren, Al Jazeera, Chicago.
We now take a look at the weather. Present conditions are partly cloudy skies with a moderate breeze of 13 miles per hour from the east. The temperature is 26 degrees Celsius or 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of 4 to 5 feet, and the weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis is cloudy with a 70% chance of showers. Weather tonight will be partly cloudy with a 30% or low chance of showers. Sunset today at 6:30 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 5:48 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.